Alrighty, guys, welcome to the next episode of the Scaler Show, and I've got Sasha here from Push Peak Performance. Really excited to have you on board. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, awesome to be here, bro. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, definitely.
So I've got an action-packed episode today because this guy, he's really making waves in the Australian market at the moment, and really excited to have him on the show to find out a little bit more about him and what he's done and some of the projects that he's working on at the moment. Not only that, but also give us a bit of an insight into him and some of the challenges he's gone through and how he's overcome them as well to add some value to you guys. So, Sasha, if you could give us a bit of an overview of you, your business, who you serve, that sort of stuff would be great for the viewers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pleasure to be on here, man. And yeah, like I said, yeah, thanks for the invite. So for me, business wasn't always something that I was, I guess, focused on. You know, when I was throughout high school and starting out, I was very much of the whole victim kind of mindset attitude. I didn't really have, you know, that entrepreneurial mindset that a lot of people you see that they have. You know, Gary V's. I was selling from the age of 5 years old, kind of thing. For me, it was something that I kind of came into as a necessity. I developed like a really bad kind of drug addiction when I was about 23 years old. That kind of was going from about 21 to 23, 24. And as a result of that and some other really terrible decisions I made prior to that, found myself in, you know, about $130,000 of debt. So yeah, for me, that I was in that position and I was like, I've got no way to pay this back through like conventional means, a job, and the current job I was in was a reasonable job. Most people would consider it to be decent paying, $1,600 a week and all the benefits of, a car and stuff like that, which is not bad. But, when your loan repayments are up around that $1,000 a week, it just doesn't make sense. So what happened was everything around me, my house, all my belongings got taken from me by a previous partner, and had this massive drug addiction. Banks calling me every day, and I was just like, I've got to do something. So really had, like, in the full sense of the word, my back against the wall. And like the first business that I started was an automotive repair business. And yeah, I kind of, obviously with my history of like failure, it's difficult to go through that process and be like, all right, well, let's bet on myself after this history of failure. It was difficult to overcome that, personal barrier of let's try again on something even bigger in a different niche industry. So even that in itself was massive to overcome to begin with. And but as I kind of found out, I guess that whole attitude of like burn the bridges, burn the ships, back against the wall. I work very well in that kind of an environment. And yeah, within 18 months of starting that business, I actually paid all of my debt back, and also managed to purchase my first investment property. So things took a very quick turnaround, and it kind of, I guess, made me aware as well of my own potential. If I do actually apply myself and put myself in a vehicle that's conducive of my growth rather than limiting everything. So yeah, like in terms of history, it kind of started with that, and then more recently, the business that I've started and really been focused hard in is this event business that I'm running now with Jordan Belfort. We've got these two big seminars in February next year, the 20th and the 19th, and that's kind of like the forefront of my attention, because after that big, low and started to come out of it, it made me aware as well. Like, if I can do this and I can do this in such a short time frame, I'm like, I know that other people are having issues with their shit, if I can swear on here.
Go for it.
Yeah. I know other people are having troubles with what they're going through. It's probably not even half as bad as what I've done. And I was like, I'm sure I can lend some insight to what they're experiencing. So the Push Peak brand was kind of born about 12 or 14 months ago now. So very recently, with the idea in mind of literally taking the tools and the practices and the principles that I actually live by now, and being able to, give that back to people, that they, can skip that learning curve, can actually, maybe avoid some of those pitfalls that I fell into unknowingly. So yeah, that's a really kind of quick recap of the last 5 or 6 years, pretty much.
I really appreciate you being upfront about it all as well, because
Mm,
no doubt, like, to go through some of the challenges you've been through, and to go from being addicted to something as well, and to
mm,
pull yourself out of that as well, is a huge barrier to overcome, or challenge to overcome as it is.
yes.
Let alone to go from $130,000 in debt to positive and purchasing property, etc. as well.
That's
Banks
cool.
calling. It's a lot of people would just fold.
Mm,
And for someone like yourself to be able to go, well, bugger it, or if that, I'm going to get something different. I want to change my life in some way, shape, or form, is a big thing. Not only
yeah.
to physically implement as well, which is great,
Yes.
and appreciate that. So
Oh, thanks.
so Push Peak Performance, that's been born, what, 14 months now you've been operating,
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
and you're in the events business as well. And to bring in someone like Jordan Belfort as well, for people that
Mm,
don't know who he is, he'd be the number one. If you don't know who he is, you must be living under a rock, for starters.
yes.
Number two, only the number one sales trainer in the whole entire world, and one of the biggest guys to turn the stock market upside down as
Yeah.
well.
Mm,
Huge guy.
absolutely.
And yeah, great guy. So how did you go about, like, I guess, while we're here, uh, to get the attention of someone like that, and to get him over here as well, is also a big
Mm,
achievement. A lot of people are talking about interviewing people like this and so on as well, that may not have been able to do it, or bring them over. How
of
did you go about
course.
doing it? Maybe just
Mm.
we can add some value to the community around that.
Definitely, definitely be happy to. So, I guess on this point, it kind of the approach, I guess, that I've reflected back on and seen that I've actually had that how I went into the whole situation is people often, they go into, for example, pitching someone to come on come on my podcast, come on and do this. It's like with like a take and a take and a take. You're not actually offering anything, and so for me, what the case was, I was offered to be part of an exclusive mastermind that Jordan was holding, and I went through an application process, and actually, yeah, was successful throughout the application, and then ended up flying to his house in Beverly Hills and spent 3 days with him and 9 other entrepreneurs, and so that was, I guess, for me, it was obviously an investment within myself, being like, look, this is me taking me seriously. I value myself considerably enough to put myself out there, to be around people on that level. Jordan's considerably above where I am, and something that I've been focusing hard on this year is to really elevate my profile through the people that I hang around, and positioning myself around those power players. So for me, I guess, I essentially, I see it in my mind as if, like, what I did was I essentially committed to him through that commitment to the mastermind, through that being there, grabbing his attention, showing up, being like as authentic and genuine as I can throughout that entire experience. Telling him about my goals and my plans for the Australian market, what I want to do, what I see for myself down here, and I guess seeing that from him, and also having that like, I want to help you, I want to get behind you, what you're doing down here. Let's do these events together. It was like the ultimate assurance that what you're doing is right. You can't just go into something and be like, look, man, like, do you want to come and do these events with me in Australia? What's up? This is me. It's if you get in the circle, you pay, you invest around to be around that circle of the higher end people. Number one, they see that you're committed, and I do this with my clients now. I'll once they've kind of proven to me their level of commitment through the entire coaching process, I'll actually be like, all right, I know that you're a solid referral, that if I refer you to one of my own network, you're not going to burn me. It's like a pre-qualification process, essentially. And I kind of see it as if what I did was I qualified myself through that process to be around him. And then when the question came, the offer came of, doing something on this larger and building my brand massively through the exposure with Jordan, it was a no-brainer. So that's kind of that whole process. It was that's how I see it now in my mind. Showing up, being willing to commit and invest heavily in myself for what I desire in the future, and as a result, proving myself to a person on that level, then him taking me seriously and actually teaming up with me. So yeah.
Great. That's awesome. I love it because I guess what a lot of people need to understand is that you've got to take yourself seriously before other people can take you seriously. And
Mm,
having the ability to be able to add value to people in some way, shape, or form. Once you're committed, that's when other things show up as well. So
yes.
I love that, and the fact that you backed yourself to go all the way over there, which no doubt wouldn't have been a very small investment to be around someone like him. So
Mm,
so naturally, by you showing the commitment, he's showing commitment to you, and therefore opportunities present themselves in
yeah.
situations like this, which is great, and that's awesome.
You're spot on, Jared. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm,
That's great. So
mm,
look, I mean, this is all great. Like you've built a very successful company over the last 14 months. You had a very successful company before that in the automotive. Now, I mean, no doubt everything wasn't rosy. You've gone from $130,000 in debt. You've got yourself out of that, built a
mm,
successful companies. You've purchased investment properties, etc. Right? No doubt there would have been some challenges along the way, right? Some big challenges.
definitely. I think I think some of the biggest challenges, like I kind of said, one of the biggest ones initially was kind of what I alluded to, having that, I guess, like failure mindset, that loser mindset. All the people around me thinking that I've just like lost my whole life. Like my brother said to me, he's like, I thought you were gone. I never thought you'd make it back from like the hole you were living in. And just I guess seeing everyone look at you like, oh, poor Sasha, like too bad. You can't help but I guess take on some belief of that. So number one, that would have been probably one of the biggest mindset shifts to break. Coming out of that like loser, failure, victim mindset and turning it into like, if it's going to happen, it's up to me to take it into my hands. And that was a real challenge in itself. And I think there's probably some elements of that still remain in me in a different sense now, perhaps in more of my humility and my desire probably not to, I guess, scream from the rooftops and be as maybe outgoing and arrogant as I maybe should be about what I'm doing. So I think in terms of challenges, like that kind of ongoing challenge in regards to like my own beliefs about myself and what I can actually achieve, I would say that would be a big one. And then also another challenge I'd say that I went through as well was having the right kind of people around you in terms of like a team you have around you, the right support, the right information, the right knowledge. That's something that you can't value highly enough. And it's actually for that reason that I'm creating my own like mastermind of like exclusive people to serve that purpose, because I recognize how important it is. The people that you spend time with, the people you actually get your knowledge from, that's going to shape your future. So it's like being very careful about the information you're taking in, where it's coming from, what their agenda is, why are they actually so willing to work with you, and it's like, what do they actually want out of me? It's something that I feel like when you're starting out particularly, it can be naively missed.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So, like, I can imagine, right? Like, because we've all heard the quote, right? You are the average of the five people you spend the
Yes.
most time with. Put all their income together, divide it by five. You're the average of it, right?
That's
We've all
it.
heard that. And so you've gone from this, I guess, your statement, loser mentality, right? Where
Mm,
you were the victim of things, and everyone was like, poor Sasha, this sort of
yes.
stuff, and didn't think that you were going to come back from things, but you changed it, you turned it all around. What would you say? Like what made you completely decide to change
Mm.
that? Like what was it that tweaked in your mind and made you go, well, I've had enough, or what physically happened to make you want to change it? Because it would have been easy just to take some more drugs and
Oh,
lull it out, right? Like that would have been the easy way to do it, right? Just being a complete buzz 24 hours a day. Like, I mean, what
definitely.
made you what made you change? What made you
Mm.
decide? Like what happened? What was a series of events?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great question. So, it was a combination of my own slight level of like narcissism, where when I was younger in high school and early teenagers, I always had this idea of myself that I was pretty good, and I think that's the reason that I didn't actually go out and seek information and learn from people, because I thought I was like, I was a bit above people. I'm like, no, I don't really need to learn. I'm okay. I'm fine. I've got a great future planned for me. No problem. And I just had this idea, I'm a little bit above other people. And I think most people can probably relate to that, thinking they're just a little bit, just a step above, and I think it was an element of that saved me, along with that pain just becoming this massive catalyst that was building up so much so that it was just unbearable. And so it was like me knowing in my heart, like, I did know truly in myself that I am actually meant for better things. And I'm like, this trajectory of your life, a drug addict failure who's just going to go down the path of God knows what in the next 10 years, it's not meant for me. And I just deeply knew that. And then that coupled with like this just wave of pain coming over me was what really just made that snap decision where I was like, fuck this. I'm like, there's not one more day that goes past that I'm going to let any of this shit continue happening in my life. And it was literally like a snap decision. And I just went like freak mode on all my shit practices, everything I was doing on a day-to-day basis, every financial, woe that I was in, the banks, everything was just starting to get freakish action around all of it. And it's funny because now I kind of use that tactics today still, like that kind of fabricating pain in my life to drive me forward, because I find that, that sense of urgency, or that back against the wall, or that like fabricated pain of like loss or losing something, is such a powerful driver. So, well, for some people anyway, I wouldn't suggest throwing yourself in a $130,000 hole to dig your way out of it. By any means.
Yeah. Okay. So really, like, I guess what you found is you found pain. Like in the pain, you found a driver from that as well. So you knew that like your back was against the wall, and you made a decision to go, that I don't want this anymore. And it was so powerful that that pain just drove you forward to be able to get hyper focused on these areas that were challenges or at the time, and turn them into something that's positive, and completely turn that around in a period of time.
Yeah, that's spot on, man. That's absolutely spot on. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So let's say for example, some of the listeners at the moment, right? Let's just say they may be having some challenges in their life around, like it might be, relationships. It could be that around their finances. It could be around something that they could be even on drugs and things like that themselves at the moment, right? So we could be getting a range of different types of viewers in different areas. What would you say would be the number one thing, or a couple of things that you would suggest to people that are in these situations at the moment, and how they could completely transform that around?
I would say the most powerful thing for me was certainty. And when you're losing things, when things are falling apart around you, that's the one thing you don't have. Everything's uncertain. What am I going to do next week? How am I going to make this payment? There's so many unknowns, and to kind of build into your mind a level of certainty. And for me, it was just done through literally writing down what I wanted for my future. And it was so bizarre, because I began doing it, and like in my current position, I'm writing down these things that are like unbelievably foreign and like so far away. And I'm like, how the hell are you ever going to do that? I'm like, I'm like battling my own mind, but then I'm like pushing myself to continue doing it. And it was as if like through doing that and just seeing that certainty of like, this is actually where I'm going to direct my energy. It kind of just drove me in one direction, and my focus became like just so laser focused on that one thing that I've just created in front of myself, that I've scripted as if my next 12 and 24 months, and having that as like a rudder that just allowed me to just cut through all the distractions and all the other things trying to pull me off course. It was the driving force for me. So for anyone, I guess, who is struggling with anything like that, or maybe you don't even struggle with that kind of addictions and stuff like that, but you suck with your focus, being clear, just being so certain on like what it is that you're here to do, what it is that you want to do in the next 3 months, 12 months, 24 months, and actually knowing that, so that if someone asks you, it's like, boom, I can answer the question. And it feels good right here when you answer that question, like it comes from, you know, the heart. Because yeah, what I've experienced in the past is, you know, when you don't know something, and I remember so many times people would ask me, you know, what are you going to do? Like, how's work going? Like, what do you want to do with yourself in the next couple of years? And I was just like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. And I just feel like you're so vulnerable. You know, people can mold you and kind of, oh, well, I've got this great idea. Why don't you just come with, you know, let's try this. And you'll become part of their plan. You'll become part of what they want to do. They'll take you on board and corrupt you. And, you know, if you don't know where you're going, then someone else will tell you where they want you to go, and you'll get taken down a life that you probably didn't choose for yourself.
Very true, very true. Because let's face it, like we're in a world right now where there's so many opportunities and things that you could possibly be doing, right?
Absolutely.
And so many people are just finding themselves brought into other people's plans, other people's ideas, other people's strategies, etc. When
Yes.
really all they need to know is where they want to go, and then just have complete laser focus in on the target, which is where they want to go.
That's
And
it.
you know, so many people are talking multiple streams of income and all this sort of stuff that you can do, but if you haven't got one going at the moment, it's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's like
exactly.
it's like, hey, I've got 10 different rabbits and I'm going to catch them all at the same time, right? Like it's just got my big fishing
It's
net and
exactly that.
scoop them all up.
That's such a good analogy. It honestly is. And I think especially with I guess it becoming slightly probably easier to make money, you know, online and things like that. People, a whole trend of entrepreneurship, people are trying to, you know, build multiple streams of income, but, you know, maybe multiple streams of like $30 a week income isn't exactly getting you anywhere. So yeah, I
Exactly.
think that clarity and focus on the one goal is a great place to start and become the best at something. Yeah.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. And cool. Is there anything further you'd like to add just around this as well for people that are obviously like, because we get a range of different listeners, right? We've got people that are already running really very successful companies, doing $500,000, $1 million, 2, 3 mil, and then we've got other people as well who are just getting started. What would you suggest to a lot of these people that are that are growing successful companies or looking to grow successful companies at the moment? Like, could you give them 3 tips that you've gone through to be able to aid these people in terms of growing their income, their influence, their business, and so on as well?
Of course. I probably would say one thing, and this is going to play very nicely into what exactly you do as well. But you know, I would say one thing that's maybe not correctly used or under leveraged is the power of social media, growing your brand and becoming, you know, an actual authority on social media of whatever kind of niche it is you do. You know, social media is like tripled in size in the last like 9 years, and the machine is not slowing down. So to think that you can kind of remain in obscurity and not be advertising, not be showing people what it is you do, not be, you know, talking loudly and presenting your face behind your brand, I think it's an illusion that most people need to kind of break through in order to reach a broader market, because your clients are really, they're on there, you know, and if you can position yourself on there, yeah, you're going to open up the gates to a lot more business. So for number one, I would say that's something that I've recognized to be just ridiculously valuable in the past 12 months, particularly. Number two, I would say when you're kind of starting out something, this might be a bit more relative to newer kind of business operators, would be, unless you have someone to, I guess, forecast costings, you know, give you like a bit of an analysis as to what things are going to cost, how long it's going to take. But when you're initially starting out something, I would always allow for at least double to triple the amount of time, money and energy taken to put into like a new venture, particularly before your goal outcome comes back out of it. So like if you're allowing for, you know, $10,000 and, you know, 4 weeks, I would strongly suggest allowing, you know, 4 months kind of thing, and, you know, allowing considerable amount more money, and just like give yourself that time. We want to like rush and we want that instant return straight away, but you need to be prepared. And this kind of, I guess, ties into the last point of knowing and deeply understanding what it is that you do, like what what service do you offer and why you're actually doing that? Because if you're going through that, you've lost 10,000, you've invested 10,000 and you haven't got a return yet, 20,000, still no customers. It's like, it's going to start to challenge you deeply inside. So if you're not attached to something greater than, the financial gain of your business, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue through those low points. So those would probably be the main points right now in the forefront of my attention. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I'm glad you mentioned those three really too, because allowing the time to be able to get the results as well. Social media, there's billions of users, hundreds of billions of users all around the world, right? So you can just reach people at your fingertips.
That's right.
And you can build real solid networks through it as well, which is great. That's obviously how we met. We met through
Correct.
social media, right? So, and we're being social at the time. So social media is being social. So like all of this is literally at the fingertips, and it doesn't matter whether you're running a business that's doing several million a year, or whether you're running a business that you're just starting off in, or whether you've even used social media in the past or you haven't used in the past. Like, it's literally you can find anyone that you possibly could want on social media.
Absolutely.
And anybody, any business can scale. So that's great. That's awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on today. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy with these events coming up in February. So exciting times for you. How can people reach out to you? Let's say, for example, someone wants to come and watch you and Jordan speak, right?
Perfect.
How can they reach out to you, and what's going to be the best way to do that?
I would say probably at the moment I'm most active on my Instagram. That's probably where most, I find most traffic and engagement coming through. And so with regard to the events, updates will be made, either on my Instagram live, on Instagram stories or posts, or alternatively also on my Facebook or my Push Peak business page as well. So I'm sure we can organise to have them put in the comments or something below, and people can jump on over and check it out, of course, because everything will be ready to check out some tickets in the coming weeks. So exciting times, definitely.
Great. So early birds are coming out really soon, so people should be jumping on that.
Absolutely.
Anyone that hasn't seen Jordan Belfort live speaking, anything like that, is a must do. He comes to Australia only every now and then, and he's coming with you. So it's exciting times.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time today, Jared. And awesome. I look forward to connecting in person down at the events for sure.
100%. Awesome. So that's Sasha, guys. Thanks so much for jumping on. For all of you that have been watching and so on as well, feel free to drop a like, a comment below. Go and follow Sasha as well, because he's doing some big things. And you definitely want to get to this event, because guys, just remember as well, if you don't fight for your own freedom, nobody else will. So you must be continually getting out there, taking action and making it happen. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Scalers Show. Until then, speak to you soon.